Lights of hope. I hope. I hope.
Yeah, I
Not
hope
yet.
everyone filled
Just
out
got
their
it
survey.
today.
That would be a
Great.
great start to the call, Julie. That's a really good point. So today they had the staff debrief of Lights of Hope. They asked us to get on an office hours call with Rachel, Molly, and Andrea. So as a staff team, the folks that were free to log on, we did have an internal call, which I think was great. So, for the staff that did get to join, we got to share some feedback, but I would definitely say for all of you too that received the Lights of Hope survey email to definitely fill it out and to share your thoughts. And I can say that I know with certainty all the way up to Pam Traxel and Lisa that they read the surveys. And so they really do take into consideration all of our feedback and our thoughts. So definitely please fill that out. But again, I think today will be a first of hopefully many kind of strategy calls and just ongoing brainstorming sessions. We really want to just bring everyone together that has contributed to, our fundraising over the years, but especially this year, it's kind of unique given our circumstances of being on a trend the last year or two of raising above our goal and significant amounts above our goal. This year, we are $30,000 over our goal. And so, I know that most of you know when I came into this role, I came from the development pillar. And so fundraising was something I was really, comfortable supporting our team with. And I know we all have a lot of fun, competitive spirit from our Ohio team, but also we are just really a cohesive team, I will say. So we all support each other. We all want to achieve our goals and beyond. And so first, I just want to start with, a huge congratulations on how successful we were. But also, I want this time to be where we can learn from each other and grow. And so I want to first start with sharing our reports on where we landed this year. So let me get that for you. And I'm super grateful Jason joined the call. I know that, again, from the ACS side, Jason has a large history from both Relay and Real Men. Now Men Wear Pink. Let me make sure I get our name and branding correct. But also you're a great advocate with us with ACS CAN. So I think anyone who wants to be a part of these conversations, I want to preface, all of our advocates who receive our Friday emails, I want to be a part of our efforts. And I think that's something we've actually kind of internally talked about too, is how we get more of our folks involved in our efforts. And I think we kind of dipped into some new ideas this year that we can expand upon, like our popcorn sales, the t-shirt store, that were kind of all encompassing and didn't have to be too specific only on Lights of Hope or only for people that were attending Leadership Summit and Lobby Day. Those are the type of things that I think we can continue to grow. And we have to keep in mind, not everyone's confident in sponsorship or particularly, Lights of Hope has grown for some of you as far as your support from your communities, but it also might not be the right ask for your community. You might have more success doing those small grassroots things like our t-shirt sale or the popcorn sale. So I really want to try to make this, again, one of many calls that we can kind of brainstorm going into 2024, how we want to keep our success and our growth going. But I also want to preface, many of you have been advocates in fundraising for a really long time. And so I do know that your donor lists, maybe we talked about this year, some individuals weren't giving as much as they had in the past, and that you were having to think outside of the box on some different strategies. And we saw a lot of growth in sponsorship for many of you. But also you were attending a lot of events, and we have to be really mindful of your ROI and the time that you're spending. And so I do want us to be open and honest with where we saw the most success and which events really did, feel like a great time of your, time spent well. So we'll continue to think about that when we go into 24 and we see our ACS event calendar. But first, let me open up our report. And I do just want to talk about our numbers a little bit, and then we can spend a few minutes brainstorming and kind of thinking about an initial direction for 2024. And we'll definitely have more calls to come. A couple of you were on when I started. I do have my 3-year-old with me, and my husband is coaching soccer tonight. So if I randomly go on mute, it's because Willie 5 is near me, and I don't want him to be too loud. Would you like to say hi before my meeting gets really busy? Can you say hi to everyone?
Hi, Willie.
Can you
Hi,
say
B.
hi? Say hi, everybody.
Hiya, bye.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so our report. This is our final report from Andrea, and I will email this out to everyone as well. I kind of made an internal page for us. I have the full report, including all the other states' data, but this is just Ohio. So we had a total of 25 pages created for Lights of Hope. That does include our state page, which is where we put the funds for the popcorn fundraiser, our t-shirt fundraiser. So this was kind of just a generic page for all of our statewide efforts. And then you'll see all of your names listed there, and the amounts from offline donations, online, and then of course the total. And then what I want to also recognize here, and again, I will email this, is that this is only Lights of Hope for this upper part. Two of you, Barb and Julie, as you individually know, also had other donor drive pages. So this is Laughter Can Cure, which will not be completely up to date yet because she did have some new funds that were added since this report was sent to us when the Lights of Hope page ended on October 6th. But I do think one is your Christmas ornaments, Julie. They don't give me an exact of which is which page.
Sarah,
but
there should be another fundraiser indicated there under me called onboarding.
a third one.
Oh, no, wait. That was October through December of 2022. Never mind. I'm sorry.
So just 2. Okay, perfect. I'll say I can make sure if not that
Nope.
Molly had any others.
Sorry.
So that is Lights of Hope and then the other pages, and then you'll see our totals here. So we had online number and offline number. So total Lights of Hope was just over 70,000. So right there in that 70,500 range. The other is going to be these totals here from Julie and Barb's other donor drive pages. They did do a email push, which I'm sure many of you noticed, where they just did a kind of national attempt at getting Lights of Hope donations from new donors. And they did track it by state, which I think is really kind. So any donors, again, brand new people, new to ACS CAN, that weren't really affiliated with any pages, they did track it down to wherever that donor was from. They split up the funds to all of us states. So we received nearly $300 from that national email campaign. And then these are our silent auction totals from Julie and Pam's items that were graciously donated and went up for auction in that silent auction. So our total fundraising is that nearly 73,000 to our goal of 42. So when I reference being 30,000 over goal, that's what this is. So that's our total fundraising, 30,000 over goal. which there it gives you that 174%. This is where we were last year. So I do like to look at this as well and keep that in mind. We landed last year at nearly 53. So we're, not only 30,000 over our goal, but we're 20,000 over where we landed last year. We're really fortunate when we set our goals that ACS CAN really wants it to be an open conversation, and they're okay with a goal that might be under what you raised. And so you might be asking yourself when you look at this, wait, we raised almost 53,000, but our goal was only 42 this year. And the answer is yes. And that really is strategic because many of you are raising, Vince, 24,000, Julie, you hit 10,000. It's not reasonable for us to think every single year that's going to be possible. And we don't want to put that pressure on just certain individuals. So that's why conversations like this are encouraged to happen. So I do want this to be that kind of initial conversation where I show you this data and then we get to have a really great open conversation to try to set our goal for next year.
And I think last year our goal was 37,000. So
Okay.
goal did go up. Even though we did so much more than it. So the goal went up a little bit. I could be wrong, and there's someone else that may be able to correct me on that, but our goal was not, we exceeded it, but, and significantly, but so our goal did go up, but not by leaps and bounds and not
by the amount you raised. Yeah. Right. And I think that's something for us to keep in mind, though. Again, we can be strategic. I think they would want us to see a little bit of an increase over our 42 from this year. But yeah, we kind of need to, I want everyone to look at this list and first look at your individual number and please provide, me feedback that I can then share with Lauren here in the next month when it's time for us to begin the goal setting conversation. I really do, want you to look at your individual donor lists that you pull from your sites and your pages and look at these totals and let me know individually, a goal that you would like to set. Overall, another area I want to make sure you see on this report, and it is in the second tab, is every single sponsorship we received. And so this is going to be compiled. It has the date and an amount, but also your names. So I can kind of sort it by your names. And you can look through this list as well. I think that would be really important for us to consider for next year. This is obviously going to be a part of your total. So it will be on your, this is counted in your pages. So, when you think about Vince's total, this is a part of his, but this might help guide you when you're thinking about your individual amounts that you want to set. If you feel that you'll lose any sponsors on this list, you could keep that in mind when you are looking at your individual totals here and really trying to consider what goal you might want to send my way. But again, we saw a lot of success and a lot of brand new sponsors all the way from the $200 level to, I think, 2,500 was our largest. And that was Cincinnati, the TQL sponsorship at 2,500 and the Morgan Stanley at 2,500. So keep that in mind when you're setting your individual goals. We also need to keep in mind that we have a verbal confirmation for a presenting sponsor next year. And so this is internal, but we have received verbal confirmation from OSU the James that they want to support us at $10,000 for a presenting sponsor of Lights of Hope. So that is going to be considered in our goal. We, if we lose some individual amounts, we will make up a little bit from that sponsorship effort. Jody, do you have a question?
Hey, when I don't recall, but when you get a presenting sponsor at the $10,000 level, is that exclusive then? Is part of their benefit for coming on board at that level exclusivity at that level?
Let me open the packet. That's a really great question. If we can have multiple $10,000. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be a
Not,
good
not
problem
trying to
to
get all
have?
crazy and greedy and everything. I'm
no,
really excited
yes.
about the James,
Uh,
but it's
They are not gonna turn down a presenting sponsor for $10,000. I just can't see it happening.
Well, I
can't
just
either,
didn't know if it's
but
been
will they get
promised
the
as a
thing?
benefit.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Sure.
we'll only have your medical because you're, it's the James, and because of what you do, you're exclusive. We're not going to allow anybody in, or we're just not going to allow anybody in the same field in, or that isn't even a factor.
Well, I'm
Will
gonna
they have,
defer
ahead.
here because I remember having this conversation at the Medina Relay for Life to Jason. Jason, and I could be completely misinterpreting this, but didn't you look at this and you secured one of the hospital systems and then went to another and said, well, do you want them to be a sponsor and you not?
Yeah, it wasn't specific to like the relay itself. Well, yeah. So for the relay, for our relay in Medina County, we kind of twisted the Cleveland Clinic's arm into becoming a sponsor because UH had become a sponsor, and they ended up I think with an equal sponsorship. We gave, since UH was first, we gave them some more perks. I mean, their logo was a few extra track signs. We gave them a much better spot, like on the track and all that, to because they were first and they came forward with it. But I will say for my for the fundraiser I did at Topgolf, I went to I got the clinic to be a sponsor, and then I went back to UH individually and said, hey, I've got the other hospital in town sponsoring. Do you want to do something? And they ended up sponsoring, not to the same level, but they ended up sponsoring. And I'll also say we've been pushing to do the same thing with Men Wear Pink. We had three individuals from UH Seidman Cancer Center agreed to be gentlemen this year in Men Wear Pink. So we went to the Cleveland Clinic and said, hey, does anybody from Taussig want to participate and stuff like that? With the idea of this is if you know Men Wear Pink, it's a competition, that this would be a friendly competition if there's other docs in other hospitals. But I've never in any like personal fundraising or even at the event have never had it where if somebody donates the top level that we then shut it off. We may come up with some additional perks for whoever donated first and all that, but I'm the last person, to Julie's comment, if someone says I'd like to donate 10,000 as well, I'm not going to be like, well, sorry, you're a week late and all that. I'll be like, I'll figure out a way for you to both be sponsors.
Well, my comment is though, I agree, Jason, in relay, but relay is different than Lights of Hope. We're not going to turn any money away, of course, or neither is relay. But I think maybe Jody, maybe you're not thinking this, but when that came up, your question, what really went through my head was the big boxes. Mm-hmm. Will we have more big boxes for them to put their logo on and their story?
I think that would be a question for us to ask. Obviously, this is a new thing too, right? Like this year was the first year. This was the very first year they offered a $10,000 level in our packet, and only 3 states, no, maybe 4. I apologize. I think 4 states secured a $10,000 sponsor. But I guarantee they would but that would be really cool for us too. We could ask them to ensure that we had 2 of the large scale, to your point, Lights of Hope displays for each sponsor, and then we would get to select 2 stories to highlight. Because I also think we can involve the sponsor and who gets selected on the box. We would need to probably ask, like, if the James comes forward like they are, I don't know that they will be as vocal or have a major preference about who is highlighted on their display, but it doesn't look like in the packet there's exclusivity to your question,
No.
Jody.
Mm-mm.
So
Well,
we
and
just
I,
have to ask Andrea and the team, like, hey, if we were to be in this situation,
Yeah.
could we get creative on having two presenting sponsors? And I know that they wouldn't turn that away. We would just have to get creative, to Pam's point, on what that would look like.
well,
I
and,
really
and I,
just want
this
to
may
make
be
sure that
premature.
nothing was
Oh.
said to the James about, I just want to make sure there wasn't anything as far as, you know, having that sponsorship that they were told that, you know, then I just wanted all of us on the same page with it, I guess.
Well,
I think that you're absolutely right. If we could get another sponsor and they can't do, you know, a big box, which I think they would do, we can totally, like Jason said, be creative about, well, here, you get this instead. You know,
Is the
Exactly.
and I'll just add too, I mean, is the situation different? Like you use the James as an example, since it sounds like they're committing. So the James gives $10,000. I imagine that the conversation is probably different if the Cleveland Clinic or University of Cincinnati Health comes forward and says, hey, we want to be a $10,000 sponsor too, versus First Energy or Goodyear or somebody like that saying, hey, I also want to be a $10,000 sponsor. I'd have to imagine and this is just me talking, like a co-presenting sponsor or co-sponsors or whatever, if they're from very different industries or something like that, maybe a different conversation. Still have to get creative, but maybe a different conversation than two like health systems or two rivals,
well,
trying to one up each other.
well, we're not going to say, like, the packets that go out and whatever doesn't say one presenting thing.
no,
like
it doesn't. Yeah.
sponsor. So anybody with a $10,000 checkbook can go ahead and be a presenting sponsor, no matter if they're in the health field or not. Now, I did not see anything in when you had that up, Sarah, that said, if you're a health sponsor, you're a presenting sponsor. So I think the health sponsorships and, like you said, the GEs or the Fords or, you know, GM, whoever, the electric company, it's a moot, you know, it's really kind of a moot point. If whoever gives us $10,000, I think needs to be a presenting sponsor.
Do you feel, Jody, that any of your sponsors are potentials to increase? Is that why you're asking, or you have someone in mind potentially?
Uh-oh.
I know she had to go off camera. But
Well, Sarah, I don't know whether it's premature to say this or not, but
I'm here.
we-
Sorry, I had to let the dog out.
we
I
had
thought you
we had
took a
a
nap
conversation.
there.
So fast.
Did you take a nap there?
I was asking if you felt as though any of your sponsors may be interested in that level, and that's why you were curious.
I'm definitely going to try for it. I do have a friend who is on the board at UC Health. And so that did cross my mind. And so I'm definitely not shying away from presenting it to people. So I just want to make sure that I'm not doing anything inappropriate, because I do I have sort of kind of made a list over the past few weeks since everything ended of who's coming back to me. So who can I get an increase from? And then who can we approach? I think we had talked in some small groups about, you know, maybe the meetings to go and get a 10,000 sponsor. It's not just me going, but maybe we do have, you know, Vince and Julie or a Jason, or we kind of have little teams that go in and present it. And the other thing it's made me think about is that for us here in Cincinnati, we have secured a media sponsor for our local Lights of Hope event next year. So then I'm thinking about, because I've done some fundraising with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation before, I was an event planner. When you get a corporate sponsor, you sometimes get more buy-in to sponsorships because there's media exposure, right? So then I'm thinking, how do I create local sponsorship packages that, yes, at the $10,000 level, you get the big box in DC, you get the national exposure, which a national event to sponsor for $10,000 is nothing. like if there's national exposure, if it's the right company and the right fit. But I'm thinking, how do I take what they're offering and then add benefits to some of the local people here, you know,
Well,
combining it with a local event?
to kind of piggyback on that, and sorry, Julie, I jumped in front of you, but what I'm thinking about was, so assuming James comes, that's probably advantageous for all of us, because being in Columbus, all the other health systems are aware, obviously. I mean, I think they're aware of everyone in Ohio, but being central, you can then start to work that more independently, but also, like you said, and I was saying the same thing before you said it, with your Lights of Hope event, and I'm trying to do the same media, but I'm just having one hell of a time trying to connect with anyone on that. But that's another story for another day. But you can also have them as a presenting sponsor if they're giving the $10,000 for your Lights of Hope event at where you're holding it, so that they're getting additional exposure. So
Right.
So for instance, if I was to do mine here again next year, I would have it at the same place. And then if you secure a Cleveland Clinic or UH or even here locally SUMA and tie it into the event, which then ties it back to the organizations, that kind of is beneficial to what you're talking about. And again, the big thing is if you can secure someone media-wise, because you would say, you know, I assume it's the group that covered the event for you and Leah before, that you were kind of able to lock something in for next year. Is that correct?
Yes, and just to be totally transparent, the we did have 2 stations come out, but one of them, it was the craziest thing. My son is in a fraternity. The fraternity's brother dad is an anchor here in Cincinnati, on our NBC affiliate. And I called my son. My son texted his fraternity brother. The brother called the dad called me within 20 minutes. It just worked out. It was not any
Awesome.
like nothing great on my part. It was totally just a connection that panned out. They were dying to cover the story on Wednesday night. Our event was on a Wednesday evening, so it wasn't on a weekend, so they didn't have a lot going on. It just panned out, and then we got super lucky, and the field reporter that came out did an amazing job on it. And then maybe his son applied for a job, and maybe he got it because of. And so I said, maybe we should meet about sponsorship for the event next year. So they're putting a package together to show me. So it is not easy to get that kind of coverage. And so when we had it, I did not want to wait to ask them to come back. I wanted right after the event, while everyone was excited, and just let's go, let's get on board with it now. And they were great about it. So, but I like your idea. Like, you're right. Like there are plenty of local events that
So Sarah, is
sponsorship.
it within the realm of possibility that we split the state in half and have a northern team and a southern team? Because I can't get to Cleveland. Vince can't get to Cincinnati.
I
So
can't get
that
to
if you're
Cleveland.
going on a cold call, especially, that you have a team of folks that can sing out of the same hymnal. And one thing that I didn't do enough of it this year, but I kind of separated a list of warm calls, and that would be my insurance man, the car dealership, the bank, the local airlines. Those were warm calls. I know people there. I've been there. They're supportive. And then there's a cold list, and my cold list came from the county chamber of commerce and the county's I googled county's largest employers. So whatever your county you're in or in that area, you could look for the large employers, because if we go into, for example, we have Clopay, which is garage doors here in Tip City. They have about 1,000 employees. And wouldn't it be nice to have a Lights of Hope display right there with their 1,000 employees right in the factory? And we didn't get it put together, but those kinds of things seem like they might have a little more meat if Jody, Leah, Tom, and I kind of go to Dayton Freight or wherever it is together, and Vince and Barb and Pam and Jason and all the folks from the northern part kind of split the state in half, and then we could use the same cold letter, but just send it, just address it to who we want to go to.
Or maybe,
I'm gonna make a list.
how
Yeah.
about maybe doing it in thirds?
Yeah, good
Because-
idea, Pam.
Yeah,
Great.
because, like up in the northern, western part of it's me and Tracy. Me and Tracy.
Yeah.
And I know that in the Cleveland area and whatever, Akron, Cleveland, I don't know where you would stop from like the Columbus area.
I think
know what I
another
mean?
point about those teams too would be that some of it should be strategic. In other words, if it's in Cleveland, but let's say Julie happens to know through her brother or someone in Cleveland, then maybe, at least in the initial email or letter process, that team extends out a little bit. So it's not so much of a cold call, but maybe, together as a group and putting those cold call lists together, we go, hey, I know someone, at least they live in Lima, or I know this person,
Right.
they live in Tip City. Maybe they know someone there since they employ 1,000 people, and kind of build it that way, which I know maybe it doesn't sound as organized or as easy to do, but I think striving for cold calls that aren't really cold is going to be easier, because I know these places get hit up all the time for corporate donations. And I feel like most of our sponsorships are because you amazing people knew somebody or are a business person, at their business, or they work with you. And I think that really helped us this year. I could be wrong, but
Well,
anyways, so I feel like maybe some
And Sarah,
strategy.
Jason's on the call today, and I've talked about this calendar a number of times, and this could easily be one from each congressional district. And we made nearly $20,000 on these calendars. Oh gosh, I'm messing up here. I know the timing isn't as good because most people, wait a minute, I'll show you Jason. And this came from a gentleman in New York named Joe Gillette, and he is just phenomenal at fundraising. He's just the coolest guy. There's Jason.
We made a lot of money off that calendar.
We did almost 20 grand.
Yeah.
And I had like 25 sales, and all I had to do is get the picture taken, send it in, and put it on Facebook, and I sold 25 calendars in a heartbeat.
So
He
before
also,
we talk
Jason, doesn't he do a
fundraisers, though,
wings competition?
he
Yeah.
does.
I have that coming up. 'Cause, I participated in it a few times. So he didn't do it last year because he was himself battling cancer, but
Yeah.
it's back for November. So I'm participating in that. We'll likely be eating a lot of wings.
So before we go into fundraiser stuff, Julie, sorry, I don't want to lose thought on our sponsorship. What I'm going to ask everyone is, I have in this document, I want this to be a living, breathing, working, like we're talking about, kind of document that we can use for future calls. So thinking sponsorship, and then we can wrap up sponsorship and talk fundraising. I currently have 3 tabs, a Southern, Central, and Northern. I don't know that we have to assign anyone to teams necessarily, in a sense of, I do want us to separate it out by market, just so we're organized, where the company's located. But, I am willing, obviously, to drive. It is my job to drive across the state when needed. And I want to be a part of any and all conversations across the state, not just Southern Ohio where I am. You know, I'm fortunate that I know our peers in all of the offices and across the state. So I do want this to be strategic in the sense that just because you live somewhere doesn't mean you might not want to go up to another meeting. You know, if it worked, I again agree to Jody's point, like you might know somebody at a company that is in the central or northern market, but you live in southern, or, you know, vice versa. So I think when it came time to, and what I would just ask is that if you have personal spreadsheets, that we use these kind of as a full team document. So, you know, if you were making a list, if you wouldn't mind putting yours into this appropriately. Right now I have columns for the company name, of course. Is it a warm or a cold relationship? You know, like if you already know someone, we want to know that. And then who that contact name is, plus your name as the advocate who has the relationship, and then the contact info. But I'm putting a notes column because then that's where I think you could update as you're working this potential meeting scheduled for blank. And then we can all lean on each other, you know, on strategy calls and asking of each other to attend meetings. That's where we can update those notes, you know, have emailed sponsorship packet, verbal confirmation, or, you know, we'll just continue updating the notes. But I
That's
would
good too,
like
so
us
we
to
don't step on
start
toes. You know
that
what I
as
mean?
well.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it'd be great for us just to start with putting all of our information in this. And then we can have another call where we really do start talking next steps. But I think it would be helpful just to know who's on your brain currently, of who you were thinking of, you know, wanting to potentially reach out to, or where you already have relationships and want to make an ask. So that would just be my
Sarah, can you
first
go back?
request.
Can you
Yep.
go back to prior years and pull sponsorships so that we don't miss any that we've had before?
I can ask for those. Yeah, I have last year's simply from Robin's transfer of knowledge documents that I got. So I know for certain I have 2022, but I can ask for maybe the, you know, year before and prior, maybe 2020 and 2021. I could ask of the last few years.
Can I ask a question? Go back to your Southern Ohio, Northern Ohio, Central Ohio.
Mhm.
I don't know what Central Ohio is. I know that I'm in the north, but where does that go to? You
I
know,
would say that I would consider you kind of between both Southern and Central.
Okay.
So whatever, this isn't, again, I want to emphasize, it's not where you're located, it's where the company, and play around with it. You know, this doesn't have to be by zip code or exact, but if it's like the James, I'm going to put in Central Ohio. I'm going to consider Columbus over going this way as Central. You're kind of in between for me. You know, you're an hour and a half or so each
Right,
direction.
right.
So I would say this is more company based, not where you're
Okay.
located, but
Okay.
let's think about this as where the company is located.
Well,
One-
that's what I'm asking,
Go
because
ahead.
I will go anywhere with anybody to do cold calls or whatever. And I will also do, of course, up in my area. That's what I was saying, you know, if we would have teams or whatever. I understand that you will be with me.
Mhm.
Um,
And I think it'd be on availability, like if
Okay.
Julie could drive up, if Jody could drive up.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I really do think we would just, as we're developing these relationships, then make that ask amongst all of us who could be interested and willing to go.
Okay, so them are companies. Okay.
Yes, I would
Companies.
look at this from a company standpoint. And
I think, Sarah, you may have hit this, I think so, but also reaching out to key stakeholders with ACS. So, you know, I think right off the top of my head, I think of Lenore, I think of Sarah Wells. I don't know anyone from Cincinnati, but I'm sure there are people in that office that are key stakeholders that would have good contacts. You know, and again, I don't know that they necessarily have to do a whole lot. It's not that we're asking them to carry the burden. We're just asking to make the connection so that we can go from there. You know what I'm saying? And again, I don't think it has to be every single staff member with ACS, but I think objectively, that collaboration has worked. That's fortunately the last number of years, it's been a two-way street throughout Ohio for both pillars. So
Right.
we should try and build on that.
Well, and this will be important for me to share, right? So we are fortunate that we're having these strategy meetings, these area planning meetings. I want to show our peers who are on our prospect list. That's why I'm asking of you definitely to put in here anyone that they know who we currently secured. So they have seen our final list from this year. But as we're thinking about who we might want to ask, I absolutely would want to take that to our area plan. We have a meeting November 14th and 15th in Columbus. So if I can ask of everyone to, in the next month, fill this spreadsheet out, and I'll put that in our email so that all of our fundraisers know, to try to think about that and add to this for those that couldn't be on the call tonight. But I would like to share at that area planning meeting on the 14th, 15th, kind of what our direction is when it comes to sponsor prospects, because then I can ask of our peers who they might know. And it really can be a dual ACS and ACS CAN relationship like we have seen unfolding so well this year. And that is where our James relationship has grown. And all these others could potentially grow. Yeah, especially our corporate staff who have their own lists that they're prospecting as far as companies to reach out to. So
Right.
I would like to share this with our ACS peers, absolutely, and have them involved.
And I believe that back also to the not stepping on toes or going to the well too often, avoiding donor fatigue,
But one of the asks, and I will say that what our advocacy part involved at the area planning meeting was asking of the development staff, what accounts do you have, supporting your strides, your relays, your Men Wear Pink, your golf gala, who could give more? Because we're looking at this from almost an account strategy where we're identifying accounts like the James who want to provide more. And so that is where we're very fortunate, when the account holder of the James, Casey Faber, went to Lenora and said they want to give more. We added additional opportunities to their sponsorship meeting proposal, and they accepted them, like our 10,000 and Leo's 10,000 for the policy forum. So
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to say something before my brain forgets it. And it's about the partnership with ACS. So something to keep in mind, for example, TQL partners with ACS, and they had a corporate goal this year of what they wanted to raise. And they were very, very generous to allow what we got from TQL to count towards their goal for ACS. And I think that's even going to build some more steam from there next year. But it might be something where, hey, they have a company who's trying to reach $1 million. If we could get in there from a different angle and raise some money, would you let them count that towards their ACS goal? I don't know, Sarah, you're a better judge of that, but just want to tell you all that is what, kind of what went down.
Yep. That's absolutely true of a lot of our accounts.
Yeah. One last thought on this, and this really probably requires some more vetting out than what we could do here tonight. But if there's a sponsor that we can get, like already with the James and maybe some of these other hospital systems, can they be listed? One of the perks that Jason was talking about, can they be listed as a presenting sponsor or something with regard to Cancer Action Day?
That's a great idea.
They be titled in with that as well. Mm. So not only are they getting Lights of Hope representation, but
good idea.
Absolutely. That's a great thought.
Great
Cancer
idea.
Action Day is an opportunity for us to put any kind of branding, right? I mean, we have programs, we can set up banners in the room. Yeah, I think that's a really wonderful strategy to think about how we can engage new sponsorship.
Well, and that kind of ties together the ACS and ACS CAN, because we were very fortunate to have a really fantastic blend of people from both pillars coming together.
Yes. Yes.
I'm just, again, I'm trying to, what more perks can you provide? And that's one.
Absolutely. If we were to have the donor secured by April, absolutely.
And I think that's kind of the reason why I was thinking that is that gives us more incentive to plan this out sooner rather than later and kind of lock that in earlier rather than later.
Absolutely. I love that idea.
Well, and the other thing, you mentioned locking it down earlier. I mean, you may have already mentioned this. I apologize, I had to step away for kid stuff, but a lot of companies are locking in their budgets now for
Right.
next year. So, I mean, I know for a couple of my personal fundraisers, like I'm trying to hit up some of my past donors and all that to make sure that I'm even if they can't give me the money today, that I'm in their budget for 2024.
Yeah.
That's absolutely where this initial call stemmed from. Yeah, us leaving Leadership Summit and Lobby Day and saying, okay, we definitely need to capitalize on the next few months. Really, especially on the sponsorship side, we want to talk fundraising ideas and others over the next couple of months too. But that is definitely why, Jason, you're spot on. This group said, let's get together and start building out like an actual sponsorship strategy, because there are a lot of places setting their budgets now. And we do want to be a part of that. If we can be reaching out and getting our requests included.
Well, and Sarah, if we have this list of prior sponsors that we could share with potential sponsors, that may put a little bit of the monkey on their back.
Yeah, especially if
Look what Jason's insurance guy is doing. I think
Yeah.
you should do this for me too.
Yeah, I have found success in that. Maybe not from just sponsorships, but even just like fundraising donations and all that. Like if you can say this is what your competitor is doing, I mean, they always want to be a little bit ahead of who they're competing against. And if that means that their logo is going to go an inch higher on the screen and all that, they're going to do it.
Well, and I loved seeing some of the successes as our team shared. You know, Julie, when we talked about Buckingham Advisors, I think that sparked for you, Jody, you know, to go ask Morgan Stanley, and then look how successful that was. I mean, this is
don't
help.
You know that I'm going to tell Buckingham Advisor that my friend in Cincinnati is is involved with Morgan Stanley, and they gave her $2,500. You know that's going to be my conversation.
Absolutely. I think that's where having our group come together, really putting thought behind this, building out this list will help for all of us. So I do want to we have 10 minutes left. I do want to try to stick to the hour. Thank you for focusing on sponsorship there and really helping build out these, the spreadsheet. Again, this is just initial, but I think it'll be helpful going into our November 14th and 15th all staff meeting, to have somewhat of a start to a list. I do want to talk new ideas for fundraising, but I really think that that's where we'll spend a lot of future calls, brainstorming, involving all of our advocates on our monthly calls. You know, I know there's a lot of ideas we can think of. I know that we've all talked about the store. I'll just start with that and expanding on it. So I know we talked about how we took a first stab at doing that shirt with our Ohio outline. So we had that. I do think many of you shared, you know, should we do something more generic perhaps? So it's not just Ohio. And I do think the company will work with us to add items to our store now that we showed some success in sales. So if we do want to brainstorm added items that could go onto the site, I know all of our other states across ACS can would be willing to support. You know, I bought the Kentucky shirt this year because they just did a pink sleeve with the ACS Can logo, and I plan to wear it at Strides in a couple weeks. It didn't come in time for me to wear it in Dayton this weekend, but I'm going to wear it at the Columbus event because I just got it in the mail. But if we did something generic, our other peers across other states could purchase an item. So I wanted to start with that and then brainstorm potential new ideas.
With the store, are you thinking we keep the Ohio t-shirts and add to it, such as what
Right.
you're talking about with Kentucky? So just
Yep.
build what we already have.
That's what they suggested. Essentially, yeah, we could keep the shirt from this year in case anyone wasn't able to get it and does want it. But then add items, whatever that might look like. I know Michigan did a sweatshirt and a hat. Anyone add if you saw others, but I do know the store is pretty flexible on what we could add. And then design wise, that would be up to us too. You know, they were really easy to work with. And then color options as well.
Yeah.
One more thought, because I'm going to follow in Jody's footsteps, because if I don't get it off my head, even though I wrote it down, I'll lose it. I think that personally for me, it's not the greatest thing, but I think overall it's beneficial. The popcorn sale, not just as a state versus state competition, but for people that are uncomfortable asking friends or family for donations, that's something that you can put. It's very, I hate to put it this way because it sounds terrible. It's a very passive way to raise some money, and
Right.
not a whole lot except for maybe putting on social media or putting it out there. I'm thinking things along those lines for some of the people that aren't as comfortable approaching friends, family, small company sponsorships, those kinds of things. So that was just one example of something that to engage more people, because like you said, I think so there are 25 that did Lights of Hope pages.
Mhm.
So maybe we can bump that up to 30 this year, because we're giving other options that someone would feel more comfortable doing. And there are other ideas too, I'm sure.
No,
Jason, I was going to ask if you
Yeah.
know of, other companies where we sell items across. I know Relay, that was huge when we used to have our Relay as strong as it was here back in the day.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I'm 100% on board with you, Vince. I mean, I think the popcorn fundraiser, I like it for a couple of reasons. One, the competition amongst it was fun. Now, I'm going to also preface it to say I spend 100% of my time fundraising on the other pillar for Real Men Will Make and Relay, but I did everything I could to try to buy popcorn from different people and buy Lights of Hope from different people, because I love the competition with the other state. I thought that was really cool to do that sort of Ohio versus Michigan thing. And then I also really like the passive part of it. I mean, I say all the time, my humble brag is that in the last 15 months, I've raised over 80,000 for ACS individually. I've never, ever asked anybody just make a donation to me. And of that 80,000, nobody made a donation. I do the lottery, I do football squares, I've done Tastefully Simple. Like I do stuff with whether it's in-person fundraisers or online stuff of you're donating and you're either A, going to get something in return, or B, it's some kind of a raffle where you have the chance to get something in return. And I just, one, find that people get excited about that. And two, believe it or not, with all the fundraising I do, I leave all the sponsorship asks to my wife, because I'm not, I can tell my story and give my ask, but I still get like nervous to say, will you donate to ACS? Like I'm very much like, give me $10 and you can have a chance to become a billionaire in the lottery and all that. That's usually my catch.
The only thing we can't do is we have to do silent auctions. We can't do games of chance.
Correct.
So,
on our pages.
On
Now,
yours, yeah.
This is recorded, and make sure this doesn't go to the other powers that be. Julie knows she smiles because she likes to say that I'm the gray staff partner, not black and white. And that is true. You know, Barb's Super Bowl squares,
Yep.
The, Venmo donations from Strides, Julie's nodding. I cover my eyes, cover my ears. We could not promote that from our page, but you all as individual participants can do that. I couldn't share it from the Ohio ACS Can Facebook page, but I 1,000% agree. We could and should think of things you could do, and we just email about it and you do it, but I wouldn't be able to share it from our main page.
Yeah, if it's a, I've always been told if it's a volunteer-driven, volunteer-sponsored fundraiser without ACS support and promotion, then it can be done.
Yeah.
Where,
And
where the
strides-
popcorn fundraiser we could do. So any percentage back things. So if we did want to do another, I don't know if there's another company, that we could push. I know, Tastefully Simple is one. You talked about, Jason. I know a lot of folks in Pan, Ohio and other events do those as well. Those we can share because it's a percentage back. But any of the chance things, we would just have to do separately. Because popcorn, again, was a 50% donation back, and we were able to share that. So if we want to make a list of companies where we could do fundraisers where they're donating a percentage back, we're allowed to share that. I just couldn't share any raffle stuff.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do the state versus state. I'm just trying to come up with things that engage some people that.
We could absolutely do Tastefully, if we found a contact for Tastefully Simple, that's an easy one. A lot of restaurants will do percentages back.
Yep.
Pampered Chef does donation like 30%, I think.
Chef.
Yeah,
Pampered Chef is another one. I saw a lot of
there's a
success.
I can't think of the name of it, but there's a t-shirt company as well that I know my wife has done, and like several other like relays I've seen do where, I mean, they're not cancer specific shirts, but they're just fun t-shirts, sports related, kids related kind of thing. And you buy a t-shirt for whatever, $15-20, and then a portion of that, it's like 5%, 10% goes back to your individual fundraising and all that. I know my wife looks for them when or looks for others that are doing it like before, like the summer when we got to buy new shirts for the kids and stuff like that. The other thing too, and I've never seen this with cans, so maybe there's a rule that would be broken if it was done, but I see a lot of, especially here in Northeast Ohio, a lot of the local breweries brew beer for Pan Ohio, for Strides, for Real Men Wear Pink, for Relay, that but I've never seen it for can. I don't know if there's a reason as to why not. Like I know Fatheads, like locally, Fatheads, Great Lakes, Arche, like in the Akron Canton area, they will gladly brew something that is tied to the American Cancer Society with a where they give $1 for every pint sold or $1 for every can sold and stuff like that. I just don't know if on the can side there's rules that are different.
I love that you brought that up. Yeah. So I think there was hesitation in previous years. This year, an example is Barb's silent auction had bourbon in it. So they did allow, I think in previous years, they were a little hesitant about that. But I will say, for the first time I heard on a team call, it was actually our Kansas grassroots manager. They held a brewery event and the brewery gave $1 back and they raised thousands. So yes, I think we are allowed to do it, and we absolutely should consider where we know there are relationships.
Fatheads here locally, I mean, they did one for Pan Ohio.
Yep.
And
I
just happened to go to like Fatheads the day that they were like releasing the beer, and there was probably a dozen, maybe 24 volunteers from Pan Ohio that all showed up and had their own little party, and Fatheads ended up taking care of like their food and stuff like that at their table and all that. So I was just, and again, they gave like a portion of sales back, and I get the whole alcohol thing. I remember years ago, ACS, like my staff partner, pushing back on me pretty hard because I had beer as part of my wing night, my King of the Wing thing, and I remember like once I brought in like 8,000 for the event, it was kind of like, all right, I'm going to look the other way if you end up doing that again. And I think they've softened because they realize as long as you have the security in the place and people aren't getting drunk and stuff like that. And something like this with like the breweries, it's more like, you're not like selling tickets for it or anything like that. These are like their general patrons who are coming in and buying a beer. And like, I know, again, the Pan Ohio one, it said right on the bottom, supports the American Cancer Society Pan Ohio bike ride and all that. But,
and Stewart's Caring Place, as part of their fundraiser they did, was microbrew in Barberton made a beer after them, and 11% of the sales went back to Stewart's. So not only that night was it there, but they made enough of the brew that till they ran out, those sales were coming back, over a longer period.
That was Ignite Brewing Company, wasn't it? Wasn't it Ignite that did it? Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a location in Brunswick, and I think I saw the beer like on tap there with like the little reference to Stewart's Caring Place on it.
So, I think, that's kind of, and given the fact that there's so many microbrews now across the state and the country, that I'm sure that it's a much different complexion than it is slapping ACS or ACS can on something and saying,
Well,
How
Penn,
many checks do you
Ohio.
have back? Do they just give you one check when you
They
did
do.
that?
They do.
Yeah,
They
just
do.
a
Yeah.
check. And Penn,
Yeah,
Ohio was unique that they brewed an actual beer, right? Like
Yeah.
most breweries will just say, on this Tuesday night, we'll give you $1 per pour of any of our beers. We don't have to go in asking them to brew us a beer. Now, that would be awesome because it
Yeah.
is more publicity. And we can have our logo out a bit more. But I
And
think even
Jody,
just a dime to donate is
at the
great.
federal level, Molly is willing to, if a number of us go together on a fundraiser as a team, she will actually break down that amount of money. Say it's $1,000 split up 4 ways.
Okay.
We could
So we can do that.
absolutely credit.
Yeah. And there are several, Sarah, to your point, but there are several that'll just say, look, on Tuesday nights, we do like give back to charity night and all that. And then ACS can be, get that. I know like Arshay in Akron, Collision Bend in Cleveland, and Market Garden and Fatheads, they have all been willing to do that, but also willing to say, we are going to brew a beer. Like I know Arshay has always done like a pink themed beer that goes to either Real Men Wear Pink or Making Strides. Down in Cincinnati, I'm almost positive I could hook you guys up with Matry Brewing, which is probably the second biggest brewery down there. I know the head of HR and social media there, and they're always looking for ways to give back. They would either do a give back night, or I'm sure they would do some kind of bring a few of you in for some kind of a fun brew the beer together and stuff like that. And then as soon as it's tapped, then they give like $1 of every like pint that's sold like during a specific month for that beer goes to the charity.
I'll
There
reach
you
out
go,
to
Jody.
I think I'll definitely reach out to you outside of this.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll add to
Cincinnati for
speaking
that.
about I'll add to the brewery relationship a unique idea I think that came about in Springfield from Tom. I know he's not on tonight. Was not only when we're thinking about breweries like supporting us and giving back, they allowed Tracy Tackett is a friend of Julie and Tom's in the Springfield area. She did like a celebrity bartending. The restaurant brewery let her come in and collect tips, and she kind of just helped work at the restaurant brewery. And she was really kind to give that donation to Tom and Julie to split. It was the evening of their Lights of Hope display there in Springfield. So the restaurant brewery was kind of right near that downtown square. So while they were having people come look at their Lights of Hope display, they were like, go visit this restaurant brewery. And Tracy is celebrity bartending. And then they gave a check. So that's also kind of a unique idea if restaurants or locations will let us come in and be present and collect tips.
Who is she?
Count me in.
Who is she?
She's just a local person. She's running for, what is she running for? Commissioner?
City council,
Okay.
City council.
Okay. Politician.
Yeah.
Okay.
politician, yeah.
There you go. Okay.
One thing,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm not sure that
Well-
we need to vet this out at this very moment, but we were talking about, and it depends upon if it's regional or on a larger scope, but I think that we need to look at how we raise money statewide as well as individually. I think, obviously, having people in the top 10 is fantastic, but I think that we need to look at overall, how do we raise money as a state? Because I think we're getting, it really, certain aspects of how we fundraise may play better to statewide fundraising as opposed to regionalized. And I don't know what that looks like, frankly. I'm kind of thinking back to just trying to people maintaining momentum. If we can get more people involved on a smaller scale as a state, we can raise more overall.
And I would think the things like if we hosted Tastefully Simple or Pampered Chef, if we
Yeah.
did the calendar, that would be where it'd be statewide, everyone come together, share the page, share just like we did Double Good.
Yeah.
I would think that those percentage back ideas, we can do local things too, but I would think a lot of those would be statewide.
Yeah, why don't you put statewide fundraiser ideas up there, Sarah? Only because I agree. Not one person's, well, one person can have a tastefully simple party, you know, or, you know, do their celebrity bartending, whatever. But for like the calendar and stuff like that, or Double Good, I think that would be a great idea for more to be a statewide.
You know, again, this will be just the start of many brainstorming
Right.
sessions. I am gonna, any last thoughts to add since we're a little over our hour and at our time?
Yeah, I'm just trying to throw out as many ideas that come to my head so that they're out there and on paper.
Right, right. And then with like going to like an individual one, then we can make a list of going to your mortgage loan or your loan or your insurance person or whatever. I would like some ideas about that too.
Yeah, and also you can go to and attend a Chamber of
Maybe
Commerce
afterwards.
meeting
Yeah,
and meet all sorts of people at those meetings.
sure.
You know, those are all more localized, simple ideas.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I appreciate all of you taking the time to log in, and I'll definitely type up some notes to share with everyone about adding prospects and such. We are fake eating alphabet soup, and clearly ready for dinner. He brought me all of his magnet letters that we're eating. But I will schedule a time through another survey to try to get together again for a second meeting. But appreciate again everyone coming together and really making this a priority to have another huge success going into 2024. I just appreciate all of you and the collaboration and ideas, and know that we are a team of teams and it is recognized by so many. So I just thank all
Wonderful.
of you.
Yes.
Appreciate all of your time.
Hey, Sarah
Thank you.
and Vince, can you stay on for a minute?
Sure. And hopefully I'll see a handful of you at the
Alrighty. See ya.
policy forum tomorrow. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
You say bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, I just wanted to
pick up your
ask,
letters, please.
what are we needing to wear tomorrow? Do you want us to wear our blue shirts or do you want us to, because we're going to give the award to the governor?
I would say the blue logo, the blue logo polo would be amazing,
Okay.
just so, yeah, I'll wear that as well, so the three of us can all be.
Yeah, okay.
I planned on wearing my blue button down.
Yeah,
Okay,
either
I don't have
or
a
the
button
polo.
down. Yeah.
Either one.
Perfect, okay.
I was debating if I was going to wear a jacket or not, but then if I wear the jacket, it covers up the logo.
Right.
I may have it with me, but I may just take it off. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think if I wear more, I can always
Take it
reduce
off.
rather
Yeah.
than not have it. So we'll see.
Yeah. It might be cold in there, who knows?
Right.
And
I would say definitely bring one, but we'll take
Yeah.
it off for the photo. And essentially, Leo, just if you can sit as close to the stage. He is going to present right at 11 when we start, because that's when the governor is free, is at 11. So we're kind of starting the program with the award. And
Okay.
so Leo said, just as he starts presenting about the award, we can kind of walk up beside him and he'll get the plaque out for us.
Okay.
I'm thinking it'd be down there probably like at 10:30-ish, if not even a little earlier.
And I think that too, because I have to drive so far. Well, you too, Vince. I think I'm leaving here at about 7. It takes me 2.5 hours. So I don't want to be in traffic. I just
Yeah,
don't want to be in
if I
traffic.
leave at 8:30, I'll be there at between 10 and 10:30.
Okay, wonderful. We'll just all meet at the atrium or whatever it's called.
Yep, I'll be there at 9.
Okay.
So just
Okay.
meet
Oh,
in the
good.
atrium. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. And do you guys want to do some lunch or something afterwards?
I would
I-
love that.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think
I
we
mean,
might-
it's over at noon. It's lunchtime.
11 to noon, and then we can go somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
perfect.
And we can have our
Love
meeting
that. That
then.
can be our meeting. Yeah.
Because I've got a hair appointment at 8:00 on Thursday. So,
Yeah.
oh,
I
yeah,
know. Yeah, that way we can still chat since our time
Yeah.
would have been tomorrow. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, great. I was wondering if
I love that.
so
Perfect.
that's great. All righty. Well, guys, thank you very much. And we'll
Yeah.
see you tomorrow.
See ya in the morning.
Get that boy some food.
I know, we're hungry.
There
He
you
looks
go.
like he's undernourished.
Yeah, he's
right. I
undernourished.
know. He's starving.
But don't pinch him no more, Mama.
I know. Mama, don't pinch me no more.
Oh, never love pinches until
love
some kid in school pinches him and said,
True.
oh, better not do that no more. All righty. Or he does it to somebody. There's a love
Yes.
pinch. My mama says that's a love pinch.
That's so true.
All righty, guys. See ya.
See
See
you
you
in the
later.
morning.
Bye-bye.
Morning.
Bye.
Bye.